Have you guys ever had a step in the hiring process that you struggle with the most? What I can definitely say in my journey is the medical. I know everyone has a different obstacle that they face, but in terms of being like a diabetic and everything that I went through, especially in my last video when I shared my timeline, medical has been the biggest step for me, you guys. And the reason being is because I had to put a lot of work into keeping my blood glucose level stable as well as my A1Cs. Because for those of you guys that don't know, like I'm a type 1 diabetic, and as a type 1 diabetic, monitoring your blood sugars and keeping track and keeping your A1C at a good level is very important, and especially for long-term health. And since I'm going into law enforcement, it only makes sense for me to do that. So what happened is for a long time, my A1C was very high. The normal A1C level is a 6 and below, right? Anything above a 6, you're getting on the unhealthy side, and you have to do the work to correct it. And it took me a long time to get to a 6. And I'm not at a 5 yet, that's the goal. But right now I'm averaging a 6. But before then, like when I was back a couple years ago, when I was going through the medical process in 2021, 2022, those were probably some of the toughest moments of the hiring process because my A1Cs were high. They were between 10 to 12, which is very unhealthy. And I was still working out, and I was still like lifting weights, and I wasn't running as much as I am right now. However, I was eating. The problem that I had was my portions. I wasn't tracking my food. I wasn't monitoring how many carbs and proteins I should be eating. I wasn't aware of the macronutrients and the portion sizes that mattered, right? As a diabetic, I could eat everything and I could be fine, but the thing is in terms of my health, I have to really be on point, because that's going to make the difference in how my A1C is going to be affected in the next 2 to 4 weeks. Because your A1C, it goes, or I should say, your A1C will come out to how your average blood sugar has been for the past 3 months. So it's not, in fact, I'll correct that. Like 2 to 4 weeks, that's not an accurate reading for your A1C. It's really the 3 months, right? So with that being said, for 3 months, I had to put in work to change everything. Like, because in 2021, it was like 11.8. It was really bad. So I had to take more time to correct it, improve it. And then I was able to get my A1C back in 2022, almost a year later, to like about a 9.5, which is still like from 11.8 to a 9.5. That's better, but that's not healthy, right? 9.5, that's still pretty much in the 10 range, like, and above a 9, and it's just, that's not where you want to be. So that held my process up even more, and that ended up getting me disqualified medically because of my A1C. And so as I was constantly going back and forth with my nurse case manager, and shout out to her, she's been really good and really resourceful, but she was like, it's not just the A1C, it's just, they look at everything, your blood sugars, your nutrition, your self-statement, and on top of your A1C and everything else. So I had to take some notes. I had to really put together what I needed to do to get myself on point and get myself ready, and pretty much so that way I don't hit any more roadblocks with this. So in 2023, of, it was July 2023, I reapplied again. And that's when I started going through all the steps. Because it got to that point too where I was going to give this a last go around. And I was pretty much like, if I don't pass this, then I need to either move on to something else, or I need to take a longer time to just bring everything back together, and maybe go to a local law enforcement agency in the meantime, and just eventually come back to Border Patrol. But I was willing, like I said, I was willing to put in the work, willing to put in the time. And so ever since July 2023, that's when I got to the point where I was dialing everything in. I was tracking my food with an app called MyFitnessPal, and I was tracking my water. I've been tracking my sleep. My portions have been cut down. Instead of eating 6 meals a day, and I was averaging anywhere from like 4,000 to 6,000 calories, I was averaging now about anywhere from 28 to 3,000 calories a day, and only eating 3 to 4 meals a day. That's it. And that's all my body needed. And you know what? I felt significantly better. And on top of that, I was starting to run more. I remember I was only running maybe once a week. I bumped it up to once a week, or 2 times a week, 3 times a week, and so on. And now I'm at the point, I'm 3 weeks out, so I'm pretty much running like 5-6 days a week. I give myself a day off, but I'm alternating my sprints and my long distance running. So for example, like right now, I'm doing, for long distance, I average about 4 to 8 miles for long distance running. Sometimes I do 10 miles. And then for sprinting and stuff like that, I will practice sprinting 250 yards, 200 to 250 yards. And I will also do jump roping, jumping jacks, and burpees in between all that, just to kind of get my heart rate going. And so a combination of all of that now, and then even what I was doing before, and just keeping my blood sugar stable, I've been able to be more efficient. So with that being said, guys, to go back to the improvements I've seen on my A1C. So ever since I've been doing all the stuff I've been telling you guys, my A1C recently went from, what was it? It was at in fact, when I got qualified for the medical, it was at a 6.5. That was what I got. I don't remember the exact time because I'd have to go back and check. But what I do know is that it's been a significant improvement. And on top of that, I got it checked again like another 3 months after that, and it was at a 6.2. So still it's slightly above like the 6 that I want, but however, it's still within that range that's considerably healthy, right? Because that's where I want it to be. I don't want it to be like at above a 6.5. I don't want it to be at a 7 or anything like that. And that's all because of my diet, all because of my cardio and consistent tracking and meal portion control. And on top of that, like all of that I was doing to fix it, I put that in my exercise self-statement, because in your Border Patrol application process, you get to put together a self-statement and you get to tell them, okay, this is what I've been doing. This is how things have been changing, and this is how I feel, and this is what's going on. And then they take that into account on top of the results and the numbers that you send them. They'll grant that because they see it's legit, the work that you're putting in. So that's all they want. That's all they want is, because you gotta look good on paper too, unfortunately. I mean, nobody's perfect, right? But you need to be healthy and you need to be cleared. And it's not enough for me to just say, well, fuck these guys and, point the finger and just get mad. That doesn't work. It hasn't worked at all. And I got to a point I was pretty frustrated and upset with these guys. But at the same time, I know that deep down inside, I have to take accountability. I have to correct it, and I have to fix it. You got to be a man and fix your problems. So that's what it came down to, and that's how I was able to overcome the most difficult step in my hiring journey, was the medical. And then of course, I got cleared, I got a final offer, and then I ended up getting injured 3 months before, a month before I was scheduled to go to originally EOD in April. But still, I was able to get that fixed. I did my part. I listened to the doctor, and I was taking my vitamin D and my calcium supplements, and I was training still, but doing just enough to where I can do something for my body and be productive and be proactive so I don't get weaker. I was still running and doing cardio too. And then eventually things turned around in June and so on. And so I was able to get a new EOD date. But looking back on it, like, I've put in a lot of work to change things, and this should also, encourage a lot of you guys out there too who are diabetic like myself and going through the hiring process, because it's not impossible. There's guys that are at the academy right now who are diabetic, and Border Patrol agents who are also diabetic. And so it's not impossible. It's not impossible. Where your mind goes, your body's going to follow, and just making sure that you're doing your part, correcting the mistakes that need to be corrected, and just doing what's going to work. Not just doing the same thing and hoping for a different result, because it's madness. I was thinking, well, what I'm doing is fine, and I'm still working out, and I should be considered to be okay and in shape, but at the same time, it's, what does my blood work show? What does my blood glucose level show? It's not the same. It's one thing to be physically in shape, but internally too, because your body is working on a different scheme. It's on a different trajectory. So you got to pay attention to that and take the accountability to work and fix that if you need to. So just stay encouraged, and if you hit some roadblocks, just remember, you could always ask your nurse case manager and tap in with people who can help you. And on top of that, just you'll know what the problem is, and you'll be able to fix it. So with that being said, guys, that was my hardest step, and I hope this encourages you guys. Thank you guys for following along. Peace.